Hello and welcome to Business Owners Unite, the podcast where we explore the challenges, successes, and lessons learned from those who have navigated the exciting yet complex world of business ownership. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, this podcast is for you to help, inspire, and guide you on your business journey. So let's get started and unite the world of business owners, one story at a time.
Welcome, everyone. It's Kyle here from the Business Owners Unite podcast. Today, we have Stephanie Rother from Infinite Health Concepts. And I know that we're going to have a really good chat. I've known Stephanie for a wee while now, and we've always had really great conversations. She has a very diverse background in health and wellness. She's a qualified yoga instructor, a naturopath. She has diplomas, degrees, everything that you could possibly hope for. And the thing that I'm very interested in is the hypnotherapy as well. So, Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying the slightly cooler weather at the moment.
I know it's finally cooled down. It's been so hot here in Australia. Literally, it's like the first day where it hasn't been like 35 degrees or something crazy.
Yeah. So that's really good. Yeah.
Okay? And just for all the listeners who this is the first time that they might have heard about you, do you mind if we start with a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yep. Sure. Absolutely. So I'm Stephanie from Infinite Health Concepts. Originally, years and years and years ago, I came over from Germany, and that was in a complete different career, working in business. I came over for a German company. And then sort of a little bit down the track, I did get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which was not on my life plan at that stage. And
Yeah.
I kind of got interested in, so what can I do about this? Do I want to go down the normal pathway of allopathic health and inject myself every couple of days with a chemical? Or do I find another way? And that
Mm.
led me down the path of getting interested in natural health. And then it got me interested in studying naturopathy because there was a whole wide field that opened up for me. And so
Wow.
I continued sort of working part-time and started studying. So it took me a long time to get my degree. It was really interesting. It's a Bachelor of Health Science. You learn a lot about basics. And then, I started working as a naturopath.
What a
Originally,
So
yeah,
interesting that I find that there's a lot of people who get into working for themselves or starting their own business based on a need that they had in their own lives. And
yeah,
it sounds like having those health challenges, you're either faced with do what you're told or do the research and figure this out and see what other options are available for you. So, what an inspiring journey. That's so cool.
yeah. And I think it's about taking the self-responsibility and really think
Yeah.
about what is important to you in your life. And for me, it was literally coming back to what I wanted to do when I was a kid, because I literally always ran around. I got this little medical kit as a kid that I could
Okay.
play with and
Yep.
take people's blood pressure and listen to their heart. Not really, but pretend. And I always wanted to be a doctor. Well,
Wow.
obviously that didn't work. That didn't go down that well. But in the end, getting back to treating the body, treating the person, helping people. And
Yeah.
it's a job that it's more than just a job. It's just something that you really get drawn to. And so I think that's the reason why lots of people quite often do it a bit later in life.
Absolutely. I mean, what an honor to be able to help people with their health and help them with their
Yeah.
wellness. Because I think that so many people in the medical practitioner, whatever the word is, the medical industry, it's focusing on illness. It's focusing on when you
Yeah.
have a problem, then let's treat the
Yeah.
problem. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be a lot more focused on how can I help you be well? How can I help you with a healthy, not just body, but mind as well? And I think that's
Yeah.
something that is a very special and very needed practice in the world. I think there's a lot of people who really struggle with their health, and it's like, man, if you could look after yourself
Well,
preemptively rather than after you start experiencing problems. I know that that's hard to do, but look after yourself. That's probably the better way to do it, right?
yeah. So I literally focus more on preventative well-being and health. Initially, when I started as naturopath, I worked a lot with people who were really unwell and
Mm.
further down the track. But I also found I attracted a lot of people who struggled with stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole shift came into becoming more involved with meditation and then hypnotherapy as well, because I realized there is a strong connection between the mind and the body. And what goes on in our mind is basically reflected in our body as well. And if we can address both aspects of the well-being, then we actually have a great kind of package. And I can use that to help people when they're not completely unwell, but you know,
Yeah.
that average person who is just tired, run down
Mhm.
and stressed, or can't sleep, or
Yeah.
drinks too much, eats too much. That's that audience. This is my ideal client. I want to get them
Yeah.
and have that conversation with them and work with them so they don't go down that road where they get really sick further down the track.
Yeah, amazing work. I think the mind body soul connection is
Yeah.
really prevalent. I think a lot of people come to that later in life, not realizing.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you think you're bulletproof, until something happens and you have a major health catastrophe or something
Yeah.
really shocks you. You just think, hey, I'm always going to be, healthy. I'm always going to be whatever. And it's not that way at all. I think I heard a really good saying, and you might have heard this already, but disease is just dis-ease. It's like you're at
Yeah.
a state of like anti-ease. You're stressed,
Yeah.
you're anxious, you're depressed, and those are often symptoms of a larger issue. They might be the red flag, the
Oh,
canary in the coal mine, so to speak, or that could actually be leading to physical and physiological issues. So super interesting, man, that you got into what you do through that path of treating people and then seeing that common stress or that common anxiety. So is that how you got into hypnot? I don't know how to say it. Hypnotism?
hypnosis or
Hypnosis. Thank you. Yeah.
hypnotherapy. So I prefer to say hypnotherapy because I don't just hypnotize people for the fun of it.
Oh,
And there is
that would be
nothing
cool,
wrong, nothing
man.
wrong with that. But I use basically the state of trance or hypnosis to do
Mm,
therapy in that state. Because what happens when you are hypnotized, it's basically sort of the prefrontal cortex that sits around your subconscious.
mm,
It gets opened up and it's more easy to basically access information that is stored in there or to put new information in there.
yeah, wow.
And I always have sort of the metaphor of a nightclub.
Hmm.
Our subconscious is like a nightclub. When you
Okay.
stand in front of the nightclub, generally you can't look inside, right?
Mhm.
But you can hear the music, the do, do, do. And, you can't even look through the door because there is a curtain in front of it or someone stands in front of the door anyway. But occasionally the curtain opens a bit and you get the waft of hot, steamy air because there is lots of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
And so when I do hypnotherapy, I basically explain, look, I'll take your hand. I have a word to that person in front of the door. And I just tell them, look, you can step to the side for the time being, because that's kind of in that metaphor that like your conscious brain. You take a break. We just walk into the nightclub and then we go to the DJ and we have a conversation how we can change the tune. However, because it's a nightclub, it's not going to change to classical music.
Mm,
It's going to change to what the nightclub plays. And that's
mm,
kind of how hypnosis works. We can affect a lot of change, but you can't change a person's character or who
yeah.
they are. They keep the essence of themselves, but we can change how the music is played.
Yeah.
Maybe the tunes are not as quick and fast. Maybe they're a bit more slow.
Nice. Calming music playlist
Yeah.
maybe instead of the anxiety-driven music.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a really cool analogy. And I find hypnotherapy super interesting. I have not really explored it too much myself, but I know that a lot of my friends who have tried it have found it super beneficial. Um, so I guess like we talked a bit about how you got into this in the first place.
Mm.
Um, I guess now, do you find that there's like particular types of people that you work with? Like who's your kind of customer persona, so to speak? Is it a
Yeah.
specific type or
Yeah. So my customer persona, very often I work with women. I do work with men as well, but quite often it's women. And sort of my area where I do a lot of work is if they drink too much or eat too much. And
Mm,
that's the type of person who finds themselves 10 p.m. at night, everyone else is in bed or going to bed, and they stand in front of the cupboard. And then they
Interesting.
start eating because, they're frustrated.
Yeah.
Or the mom who starts drinking the first glass of wine while she's preparing dinner because she has to wind down. And then at the end of the week, she realizes pretty much every night she had half a bottle or a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I work with them, I'm actually not per se addressing the drinking or eating activity. I actually have quite a long intake session where I have a chat to them about what is going on in their life and a lot of stuff, what has happened in their childhood, because from the ages from 0 to 7, we are wide open. We take so much information in and are not even aware of it. And
Yeah.
that comes out and replays itself and we not even noticing it.
Mm.
So I pay, spend some time finding out what is going on for them, what has happened in their childhood. And then during the following sessions, I'm actually kind of releasing some of the stuck emotions and start with them the process of, okay, we dealt with what has happened with you, but we now need to focus where you want to be. How do you want your life to look like? What is your ideal kind of scenario? How will you live the rest of your life?
Wow. That's
And
so impactful. Sounds
yeah,
amazing.
because we are all so good at knowing what we don't want,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work that way. So,
Mm.
because if I tell you, don't think about a purple turtle, first thing that comes to your mind is the purple turtle, and
So
then
true.
you want to stop thinking of it. Whereas if I tell you, well, think of a pink panther, well, you think of a pink panther and you
Yeah.
haven't thought about the purple turtle unless I mention it again.
Yeah.
And that's literally the same when you deal with anything in your life. If you get up in the morning and you feel tired and say, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to feel tired. Why am I so tired? I don't want to feel tired. I can guarantee you, you get more and more tired
Yeah. Yeah.
because your mind is focused on being tired.
I know this sounds very, to me, like, kind of like The Power of The Secret, the hit phenomenon that came out way back when.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it really is, though, so interesting how the power of the psyche, and your psychology comes into play, like your early childhood
Yeah.
traumas shape you for the rest of your life because those are the patterns that you've learned, and to untangle that takes a lot of work, and I'm sure there's so many modalities that help you with that, but if you can have somebody who helps take your hand, walks you straight into the nightclub, and helps you kind of like change the
Yeah.
tunes, I think that's a really fascinating way to do it. It's probably, I imagine, potentially uh, a lot faster than years of therapy or whatever else, or doing it yourself the hard way. It's super fascinating. I love this topic as well. Psychology is like if I was to go back
Yeah.
to university and study, I think psychology would
Yeah.
be the thing because it is so interesting to me how people think and the different trauma that how it imprints on you and how it really can shape you
Yeah.
for the rest of your life. And hypnotherapy to me is quite like it almost feels like a mystic art, but I think that's just my lack of understanding and ignorance, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It can seem that way. But, I sometimes see clients who have seen psychologists for treatment and then they come to see me and it's like, oh my God, I had, years and now this changed. I can't believe it. But at the same time, occasionally I have clients I need to send to a psychologist because
Yeah.
they are not ready.
Yeah.
And hypnotherapy can work miracles. But if there is a resistance, if
Yes.
someone does not want the change, it's not really working that well either.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's
And
like anything though, isn't it? Like you need to
yeah,
come into a situation with an openness, and almost like placebo effect is very well documented in terms of if you believe something, you're so
yep,
much more likely for that to happen. And I think the Pink Panther analogy is a good way of putting that. If you focus on the outcome of what you want out of something
yeah,
rather than focusing on how it's not going to work, it's probably going to have a higher likelihood of
yeah.
possibility, which is so interesting. So how do you undo those blocks? Like, how would a psychologist kind of work with that? I know it's maybe not your realm, but that sounds quite challenging for you. And you know,
So yeah, when there are blocks, it's kind of there is always the model of change where people are in a pre-contemplation stage and then contemplation and then in commitment stage. And you kind of need to talk them through it. And I think with psychologists, it's kind of Sometimes you can do it with hypnotherapy as well, but it's kind of a conversation that you need to have. And it's kind of,
Mm,
there can be kind of, we call it secondary gains as well, because certain type of behaviors create certain types of attention that people get. And they might not even be aware of it at that stage. And sometimes they need to
gotcha.
realize that it's time to change. It
Yes.
also means that sometimes people just want to offload continuously. And
Yeah.
that's fine if
Yeah.
you're at that space. If you need to, if you have the desire to work through your trauma at a prolonged time, then, counseling and psychologists are perfect for that because they can spend the time with you.
Mm,
Whereas I'm looking at it then thinking, well, the more you talk about your past trauma, and the more you re-traumatize yourself because you're
yeah.
kind of
Interesting.
reliving it every time. And every time you tell a story from your past, you change it a little bit.
Mm, yeah. True.
So memory is a very interesting, tricky thing. It's
It
very
is.
unreliable. Things that you think you remember, talk to your siblings about it. They might have a complete different recollection.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's not what happened. Yeah.
No, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if someone has those blockages, I can start working with them until I see that they are not ready. And then it's kind of, you're better off seeing someone else. You need
Yeah.
to talk that through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely.
you are
Yeah.
more focused on the past at this stage.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess as well, going back to what you said about secondary gains, I guess that some people, I used to love Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he talks a
Yeah,
lot
like
about like
that
the
toilet.
pain. Yeah, totally. That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah.
So he talks a lot about like the pain body and how that your ego attaches to that pain body, and that can be something that you struggle to let go of because it becomes a part of you,
Mhm.
and almost become attached to the sympathy you might get from that pain or from the attention that you get from that pain. And that's a really, I imagine, a really difficult one to untether and unlock. But obviously, a psychologist or even a hypnotherapist could probably be worthwhile trying. Like, what have you got to lose? Like holding on to that is not healthy, but it seems to be pretty common.
Yeah. Look, it's something when everyone subconsciously has kind of a bias and tries to get kind of confirmation about their bias. And depending on also where you're in your sibling structure, there are certain types of characteristics that come with it. You have the youngest child who tends to be the happy-go-lucky one, and the oldest one who is the responsible one. And then there is the middle child, and you have a lot of this on Instagram at the moment. The middle child who is the one that gets completely forgotten. So,
Yeah.
quite often that can lead to kind of, okay, how do I get attention from my parents?
Yeah.
And that would be either being really, really good at school or being really, really good at sports, or it could be, well, I'm sick. I have
Yeah.
this. I need
Mm,
attention there.
yeah.
Making people aware of it can be really helpful,
Hmm.
but it's a very tricky process as well because some people
Yeah.
are not ready to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They always say that the teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Mm.
And oftentimes people don't even realize that they have a problem, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what I've learned in marketing. You got to educate people on a challenge that they might have. Hey, here's the
Yeah.
problem. Were you aware of it? So yeah, that's interesting. Well, Stephanie, I want to talk a bit more about the business side. This
Yeah.
is a Business Owners Unite podcast, but all of this stuff is super fascinating. So I feel like we could talk about it forever. In terms of your journey, how did you transition into starting your business? What was kind of the first iteration of that? Because you've got so many different qualifications and so many different modalities.
The first iteration, literally out of college, I looked for a room. I found someone quite quickly because the chiropractor around the corner, he specialized in neuro rehabilitation, and the naturopath in there was a lecturer of mine, and she got
Oh, cool!
pregnant. She said, "Do you want to have that room?" I said, "Hey, thanks, great."
Wow, yeah,
Started with that. Had to change rooms a couple of times because the leases ran out, like the main
oh,
lessor,
yep,
which is really annoying. Um, and mostly worked as a naturopath, even worked for the college where I
wow,
studied. Um, got really stressed building my own business and working part
mm,
time there. And they were in a restructuring process. ended up getting panic attacks. My anxiety just went through the roof, and I thought, this is not healthy. And
Wow.
that's when
Yeah.
I really got interested in meditation. And I had already done meditation, but I have a I have a monkey mind. When
I
you
think that's
let
all of
me,
us.
my mind lets loose. I could never really sit down. My mind just went everywhere.
Yeah.
So I thought, how can I learn to meditate properly? Well, if I teach meditation, if I learn how to teach it, then I need to do it a lot.
Yep.
And from there, it segued into hypnotherapy. At that stage,
Wow.
then we basically redeveloped our block that we had been living on for a while and built a house where I had a little clinic in the front of it for myself, and started then to see clients for hypnotherapy and naturopathy. And so over the years, it shifted more into hypnotherapy and a little bit of naturopathy.
Yep.
And look at a lot of clients who have anxiety, sleep disorders, or eat or drink too much,
Hmm.
because underlying there is quite often anxiety as well,
Yeah.
or there are other problems when they're just unhappy with their life. They don't know who they are. So it
Yeah.
just sort of developed depending on who came through the door and where my interest then took me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think, going back to when you first were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I think that it sounds like you just had a series of different needs yourself. And you were like, how
Mm.
do I unlock this? And because you were
Yeah.
able to overcome that challenge or at least find a way to deal with that challenge in a productive way, you were like, I need to share this. I need to, help others with this. And I think that's actually probably the most purest form of a business owner is like somebody who sees a need for themselves, goes, "Hey, I've learned how to do this. I want to show
Yeah.
others how they can do it because surely I'm not alone, right? I'm not the only person who's having panic attacks in the world or is not wanting to inject themselves with chemicals every couple of days." So that's such a inspiring story, I think. Along that journey, what were some of the unforeseen challenges? Was there anything that came out of the blue that you're like, "Oh my god, this is like," because business is tough,
COVID,
man. Like if it was easy,
COVID.
everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah, COVID,
Yeah.
definitely,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was in Melbourne at that time. So
Oh,
everything got shut down.
far
And
out.
so it was that pivot doing everything online, which in a way is a blessing in disguise because it kind of opened up a whole new pathway. Interestingly enough, I already had received hypnosis online most of the time at that stage myself,
Oh,
even
wow.
before
Yeah.
COVID. But that shifted me, okay, I need to, you know, sort of get my gear in order, have a better camera and
Yeah.
those things so I can see people online. So
Yeah.
COVID definitely threw a curveball. A curveball always has been when I had to change kind of locations. Even if you stay in the same area, you always lose a few clients, even if it's
Mm.
just around the corner.
Yeah.
Um, that was the reason why I decided I wanted to have a room in front of my house. And the
Yeah.
latest challenge is completely relocating to Queensland. And now
Yep.
I have to build all my networks again.
Yep.
Because in Melbourne, it was easy. I knew where all the chiropractors were, who was the right person, where are psychologists, other naturopaths. I worked with
Yep.
a lot of other naturopaths because I tended to rather send them to another naturopath and they could
Yep.
refer to me for hypnotherapy. So it's just adjusting to what happens around you and in life. And at the moment, cost of living crisis,
Mm.
people, the first thing they stop is looking after themselves. That's
That's
right.
actually very true. I know that I subscribe to a lot of different like industry reports and all the,
Yeah.
things that come out. And Visa have a really interesting one. They look at like what are the things, sorry, not Visa, PayPal. They have a
Yeah.
very interesting report that they put out a lot. And one of the things that they were talking about is with the cost of living crisis, what are people cutting back on the most? And because they process a lot of payments, they can kind of see that data. They found that strangely enough, health and well-being was one of the biggest
Yeah.
cutbacks. Obviously fashion as well, but yeah, I was really shocked by health and wellness. I was like, really? Like just after a big global pandemic, you think that people would be
Yeah.
more heightened in their like, I need to look after myself, It's just crazy that that's something that people would decide to not spend money on now.
I think it's kind of because lots of people look at health as the absence of disease,
True. Yeah.
which is actually not what the definition is from the World Health Organization. It's actually more and the absence of disease. It's kind of the total well-being that you have. But
Yeah.
so for them, as long as I'm not really sick, I'm okay. I'm,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it gets put into the back burner. The
Mm.
problem is, what are the consequences down the track? But you can't
So
see
true.
them straight away because they are
Yes.
long term.
Yeah.
Because why do people still smoke, although they know it affects their cardiovascular health? Why do people drink too much alcohol, although they know it's not good for them and, has impact on their cancer rates, etc. pp. We are, as a species, not really good looking long term when it comes to our own body,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Very true. Yeah. That's another psychology thing, isn't it? Like we're
Yeah.
very short term. What is it like?
Yeah.
Instant gratification is like the
Yeah.
best thing ever. And then long term kind of deferment of that gratification is crazily difficult. Like
Yeah.
it seems that we just struggle at the sacrificing in the now for, that reward in the future. I know there was a psychology study where they put children in a room. They gave them put a marshmallow in front of them, and they were like, "Look, you can have the marshmallow now, or if you wait 5 minutes, we'll give you two marshmallows." Yeah, and
Yeah.
that
I know.
that's such a interesting thing. How many marshmallows do we just eat now? With knowing that we could be getting two marshmallows in the future. It's like one of the things that we're doing in our lives, like drinking or smoking, or just not getting off the couch to look after our bodies in the now, knowing that that's going to pay off with hopefully less likelihood of disease in the
Yeah.
future. It's kind of simple, but also incredibly hard. We're like not hardwired for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think if someone invented a pill for that, that
Yeah.
would be just, going off the shelves.
Yeah. Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
getting yourself into that. They should do some research on that. But that's
Yeah.
conversations, that I have with my clients as well. It's kind of,
Yeah.
okay, are you
Yeah.
prepared to take the short-term pain to have the long-term gain? This is
Yes.
what it is about. And that's what we're
So,
working on. So that,
so true. So
mm,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. I definitely think that it's all mindset. And that's why I imagine that hypnotherapy would be, in my opinion, not knowing anywhere as near as much as you do about the topic, I imagine it would be a bit of a shortcut into unlocking maybe some of those blocks that you might have, or,
yeah,
just not having the willpower for certain things, like giving up
yeah,
smoking, giving up drinking, giving up binge eating, maybe like self-limiting beliefs as well. I know can
yeah.
be really helpful maybe. Which leads me to my next question, actually. I was going to ask, what are kind of like the main problems that hypnotherapy can help? I'm not going to say cure or solve, but like can help with, I guess.
Well, it is, the really popular one is the stop smoking,
Mm.
which moves now a lot into stop vaping,
Yeah.
because vaping
Yeah.
is
Vaping's
the big
it's the new
issue at the
smoking.
moment. It's that drink less or stop drinking. And, with clients, I have that conversation. Okay, you want to drink less? Okay, we work on drinking less. The amount of clients who then decided to stop drinking is actually quite interesting. I had quite a few of those who then decided, you know what, I just stop it completely. I know that it works
Nice.
better for me.
Mm,
Um, Working on weight loss is always a bit complex.
mm.
It's kind of, I work a lot on body kind of positivity as well, because
That's
there
awesome.
is no point to lose weight if you are not really at an unhealthy range.
Yeah.
Um, so it's more important of changing what you eat and being comfortable who you are.
Yeah.
So there
Nice.
is a lot of self-confidence. And
Mm.
that's where it comes in. With hypnotherapy, you work a lot with anxiety and sleep. Um, People who struggle with going to sleep or sleeping through the night, and giving them kind of the right type of suggestions, and also how they can change their routine at night so it becomes a bit more helpful for when they go to bed, and
Mm.
stop that racing thought. What are other areas? I have worked IBS, irritable
Oh,
bowel
what?
syndrome, is quite successful. I had good results with clients there, which takes a little bit longer.
Mm.
So there are generally more sessions involved, and they have home recordings, but we are able to get them to a point where they can actually pretty much eat normally again. And I
Wow.
had one client who was on the FODMAP diet, and I don't know what the dietitian was thinking, She kind of kept her there for a long, long time. And so we worked with hypnotherapy and slowly reintroducing foods, and she actually is back to a normal, healthy diet
That's
and has
incredible. Wow.
it's a much better relationship to her bowels. Her bowels will never be perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
IBS is what it is, but she manages it now. And it's not a complete kind of debilitating condition for her anymore. It's something that she can manage. And she knows when she gets stressed or anxious, that has an impact on her digestive system as well. So
Yeah.
again,
Wow.
mind and body.
It sounds like IBS blows my mind because you'd think that that is purely physiological, but like you said, the mind body connection is really obviously
Yeah.
very present. If you're able to help by just hypnotherapy, just being able to guide somebody through that I guess psychologically, that's amazing. That is really, really cool. I'm kind of blown away by that.
Yeah. So IBS is actually more mind than body, literally.
Wow.
There is
Yeah.
there is something has happened where our subconscious just makes the connection that that's it. We either clogging up
Mm.
or we rushing it through, or
Yeah.
you have a mix of both. And
Wow.
yes, sometimes there can be food sensitivities or, gut microbiome problems involved. And
Yeah.
I generally work with people on having a diet that is very beneficial for the gut microbiome. And when I think that they have issues with the gut microbiome, I might get them to test it, because you then can find out how does the gut microbiome look? And then you
Smart.
target the diet and with probiotics.
That's
So
incredible. What?
you, the good thing is I can work both ways. As a
Yeah.
naturopath, I have that knowledge to combine
Yeah.
when I work with IBS clients. So generally, clients work with me for IBS. They walk out with supplements or prescription for supplements plus the hypnotherapy part here.
It's amazing because you have that Bachelor of Science, like health science, to kind
Yeah,
of back up everything that you're doing. That comes into play where you're like, look, this is actually a bit deeper than just a psychological issue. Like we need to treat this as a holistic kind of treatment. So the
yeah,
fact that you can help people look at the full picture is really quite practical from the sounds of it. And it sounds like you can help with so many different things. So just to recap, it was body image, helping people be more
yeah.
positive in their body image, smoking, uh, binge eating or overeating, drinking too much, vaping, and even IBS. So it's really kind of anything that you might be struggling with. You were saying as well, like insomnia, not being able to sleep properly.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many different things that hypnotherapy can help with. From the sounds of it, it's pretty surreal.
Self confidence, negative kind of self talk a lot. I work a lot with that. Limiting beliefs, definitely. And I do remember I had a client who was very, very successful running businesses for other people, and but didn't want to, was too scared to take the step for himself, and
Wow,
didn't know why. And we had a sort of session that we went back, and it came back to him going first day into kindergarten, and his
oh
mom
wow,
left him at the door, and had
wow,
to leave him. And that kind of was the block that he had that stopped him from stepping out by himself.
wow, wow. It's
So
crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
that is so cool though that you can help people with that. And if people do kind of want to get started, like you were saying that you can do online hypnotherapy as well. Is that an option?
Yep. Definitely do online hypnotherapy. I treated a client with flight phobia. That's another one
What
that
that?
helped.
Sorry.
Flight phobia. So she was scared of flying.
Oh, flight phone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
So she literally dosed herself. She literally was so scared going on a plane, and we worked
Yeah.
online so that she was able to fly to the US. So
Wow.
what I do offer every client is have our free exploration session with me. So that can be online or in person. And I have a conversation with them, and they can ask me any question they have, because hypnotherapy is a lot about, do you trust me as a hypnotherapist? If you
Yeah.
don't trust me, it's a bit hard to go into a hypnosis because
Absolutely.
you're on alert and we want to be relaxed. So in that half hour, they can ask any questions, and I explain how I work with them and, what hypnotherapy is. And then, yes, we can work online. or once a week, I'm in Mooloolaba on a Thursday and I see clients in person there as well.
Perfect. Well, Steph, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for explaining all these things. I feel like I've learned a lot, and hopefully, people listening have as well. Before we wrap up the show, though, I normally like to do a quick kind of rapid fire series of
Yep.
questions, basically just, business tips. But
Yeah.
the first one I think is actually very topical to what you do. Do you mind if I quickly go through them?
Yeah. Go through them.
Awesome. The first question was, how do you look after yourself? What's your work-life balance hack for being a business owner? And I
And
feel like you can have some good tips.
it's basically self-care, definitely. I start the morning with some movement, with a glass of water. I do mindfulness meditation. I make sure that I exercise on a regular basis. I spend time in nature and I prioritize that and really feel it. When I start to feel rattled, I know something is not quite right and I take a step back.
Nice. That's really good. So you're quite in tune with your
Yeah.
how you're feeling. Yeah, that's one thing
Yeah.
I struggle with a lot. That's great. So that's good. In terms of the flip side, what is your productivity hack? How do you help get stuff done in the business? Is there anything that you can share?
It is basically taking little breaks after sort of half an hour, 40 minutes. The Pomodoro technique is always quite nice where they say, I think
Love
it's
that.
at 40 minutes thing. And, I find I need to write a plan. If I want to
Mm,
be really productive, I have to write a plan. This is what I need to tick off today. And then I sit down and shut everything off around me and focus on that, but actually have a timer that gets me off so that I give myself a break and then I go back to it.
perfect. That's great. Yeah, Pomodoro technique is awesome. I've actually got a whole YouTube video that talks about like time management techniques, and I love the Pomodoro technique. So that's
Do you
that's
know
awesome.
where the name came from?
Is it the tomato timers? Is that where it
The
comes from?
tomato. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Because he had the tomato timer.
That's so weird. Anyways, it's a good technique, right? The
Yeah.
tomato technique.
Yeah.
Awesome. And the last question for you, is there any bit of software? Like, I love technology. So is there any tools or any apps, anything that you couldn't live without in your business?
Yeah, it's my scheduling software or the
Oh,
client management software. I use something called Clinical where I put the
yeah.
appointments in, but it also has my case notes when I take and everything, and it's online, so it's transportable. I could not live with something like that. Definitely.
Amazing. Amazing. So it's Clinico. Is that the one?
Yeah, Clinical.
Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
it. I think I've helped use it with a few different clients from memory. That's
It's
awesome.
it's good. I've had it now for 6, 7 years, and might not even use all the features that are
Right.
available because it has evolved quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. It's crazy how fast things are changing at the moment as well. I feel like every
Yeah.
tool that I use is now incorporating AI into it. And even stuff that you don't think you need AI in, I'm like, why? But okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yep.
It's great though. The tools are yeah, they're fantastic.
It'll
Well,
be
that
interesting to see how that develops.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of scary in a way. Like I know
Yeah.
for me, the type of work that I do, AI is coming for me, man. It's like it's not
Oh,
that
yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be doable by AI, which is exciting, but also, very daunting, I think.
And it goes into medicine and it might even go into hypnotherapy. It's kind of, okay,
Wow.
you just had, okay, these are my problems. This is how I like to be talked to. And if they can then get a nice voice thing, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty scary, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where the level of energy comes in that you have as an exchange between people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to, like a Reiki, is it
Yeah.
Reiki? No, sorry,
Working.
sorry,
Yeah.
Qigong
Yeah.
expert. Yeah, and he was saying that he sees the pendulum swinging back towards we all crave more human interaction and connectivity.
Yeah.
When we have computers that can kinda do everything for us, what's gonna be the differentiator, you know? Like, it's
Yeah.
gonna be human connection and relationships. So, I thought that was pretty insightful.
Yeah. And when you are in a relationship with a therapist, there is that human interaction that happens where, that energy flow from the person to me and backwards. And even us talking online here, it's kind of that energy flow between the two of us
Yeah.
that creates that kind of what the outcome is in the end. So,
Yeah.
it makes the two individuals bigger than the sum.
Totally,
basically.
totally. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely find that recently, like just working, like I've worked online for 8 years and, done all my kind of client work like this, very, very large portion of it. I find that when I speak to people face to face, this is why I love BX so much, is the fact that getting that face to face connection, there's a different energy completely. And it really satisfies something deep within me, that the severely extroverted Kyle needs on a deep level. So having that like energy connection is definitely
Yeah.
something that I've noticed. Like I talk to people all day, but I still don't feel the same way that I do when I actually have like a in-person conversation. It's just way more efficient doing it online.
And look, there are different levels over time. The more you spend time online, you get to experience more of that energy. So I do a lot of intuitives. I'm with more into intuitive working these days as well, and have that also. But so I work with a lot of people in that intuitive space, and
Mm.
we all work online, and we do it incredibly well. And
Nice.
it's kind of tapping into each other's what is going on for them and how life evolves around. And it's actually incredible to see how much you can get online when you work with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even when I work with clients online, I tap into them intuitively these days as well to kind of get that energy flow, even though it is on Zoom or if
Wow.
I use Zoom or whatever you use here.
Yeah. Whatever this is. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
this program.
Some tool. Awesome. Well, Steph, this has been definitely one of my favorite interviews. Thank you so much for
Thank
jumping on the
you.
show. You bring a very amazing, positive energy, and I can say that I'm really keen to learn more about hypnotherapy. So I think I might have to have a chat after this. But if anybody does want to try out, hypnotherapy for the first time, or maybe they just like the cut of your jib, they want to start working with you, where can they go to get the party started?
So
I'm
you
thinking.
can either can find me on Instagram, Internet Health Concepts, or you can just go to my website, infinitehealth.net.au, and there is a button contact me and sends me an email, or you can just send me an email on step@infinitehealth.net.au. That's
Perfect.
kind of
Excellent.
I'm there. I'm sort of on Facebook as well as Infinite Health Concepts. I think. Yeah.
So you're all over. You got
Yeah.
your bases covered. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Steph. It's been a blast. Really appreciate you coming on the show. And yeah, we'll talk very soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much for having me, Carl. It has been great fun. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Steph. Cheers.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Business Owners Unite. Thank you for spending this time with us and being a part of our growing community of entrepreneurs. If you liked what you heard, please show your support by subscribing and leaving a review on your platform of choice. Your feedback helps us grow and continue to bring you valuable content. Remember, your business journey is unique, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories in our upcoming episodes.